Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to... What is up with my hair? My gosh, I get distracted easily. Welcome to my blind reaction to episode 1 of Cybersix. Yeah, we're getting to this right away. I don't want to wait. And I know that might be a little bit of salt in the wound for those of you who were disappointed and whatnot by me dropping Zombieland Saga. And I, again, apologize. It's just... It's clear that the show is not for me, at least not in terms of wanting to react to it. I just wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying the process of reacting to it, and it just felt like more of a chore. And as I've said in the past, whenever that happens, whenever a reaction series starts to feel like a chore to do, I don't think I should do it anymore. I think it's just the best option for the sake of the reactions, not just for my personal enjoyment, although that's part of it, but for the sake of the reactions as well, because I don't want to put out half-hearted reactions for you guys. But yeah, as I said, when I announced this in the post thoughts of that video, Cybersix is a series I've wanted to get to for a while. I believe it came out in the 90s, or maybe early 2000s, I don't remember, and I think it's Canadian, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it's a show that I never heard of growing up. Like, I've never even heard of it. Like, with other shows that I've reacted to, like, from that time period, like, oh, what was that one? The one with Eva, the girl who, they were doing the space race stuff. I can't think of the name of it. But with that series, it's like, that's one I had at least heard of. Seen bumpers for on Saturday morning TV. This one I've never even heard of growing up. I didn't hear of it until, I don't know, like 5, 6 years ago, something like that, when I first saw the opening. And the opening is phenomenal. It's a fantastic opening, great song. I really wish there was a full version of the song, but I've looked and looked and there doesn't appear to be. As I said in the post, so I barely know anything about what this is about. Like, all I know is, I guess, the most basic premise of it. Again, the main character, she was some kind of experiment. I don't even know the details behind that. Some kind of experiment, and in order to rebel against her master, she becomes a vigilante superhero. It's like the most basic premise I could have, basically. I know nothing else. I don't know anything about the characters or the story, how it goes in these 13 episodes. I do know that this is only 13 episodes, obviously. It is complete as well. It's not like, oh, they canceled it or there should be another season. No, it's a complete story. And that's pretty much it. But I am excited. I am interested. I've heard people who have gone and watched this after seeing the opening, ironically enough. I've heard people have actually really liked it and say it holds up pretty well. But of course, my opinions tend to differ from other people, so I'll have to judge it based on my own experience here. And yeah, I just have no idea how I'm going to end up enjoying this or not. We're gonna have to see, but it's like I said, it's something I've wanted to see for a while, and so since we're kind of dropping polls, at least for the time being, which I also apologize for, by the way, but I really want to get to some certain stuff, and not just this, but a bunch of other stuff as well. But since we're dropping polls for the time being, I felt like this is one of those shows that I really wanted to just get to before I forgot or put it on the back burner forever. So we're going to check it out. We're going to check it out and hope for the best. Yeah, and I'm hoping to like the characters. I'm hoping to like the action because it is at least partially a superhero vigilante story. So I'm sure there's plenty of action. Plus, there's action in the opening, so. And I've heard there is quite a bit of 90s cheese in it, which, as long as it's done right, and as long as it's enjoyable enough, I'll be fine with. Um, oh, the other series I was thinking of, by the way, is Oban Star Racers. Um, but yeah, as long as it's not like too over the top to where it gets annoying or cringy, I should be fine with the 90s cheese. Um, and I'm just hoping that the story ends up being something that's really good and impressive for the time. Um, based on now for guesswork, based on what I've seen from the opening, I'm going to say that they're outside of the villain, who I assume was this mad scientist looking dude in the opening. Outside of the villain, it looks like there's three main characters. There's the vigilante woman, the main character, I guess. And then it looks like there's two, I don't know if they're office workers or something. They look like just like normal people. Like they seem to be wearing fairly okay, good clothing from what I saw. I don't know. I don't know. They look like they're friends though. They're talking in some kind of restaurant or cafe or something. Seem to be having kind of a impassioned conversation with each other. Um, so yeah, I assume they're going to be main characters too. I don't know how they're going to connect to the vigilante hero. Hell, maybe they're cops. That's a possibility because that kind of goes hand in hand with the vigilante superhero idea. I mean, look at Batman. You can't have Batman without Jim Gordon. um, so maybe they're cops, and maybe they ally themselves with the vigilante, or maybe they're against her at first, but then ally themselves as necessity. That's very possible. Jim Gordon's done that in various comics and shows and whatnot. I guess we'll just have to see. But it looked like there was some like monsters and shit. Like I think the opening showed gargoyles, which is really interesting. Like not like the TV show Gargoyles, but you know what I mean. um, I haven't actually watched the opening for a little bit. So it's like I'm not 100% sure exactly everything it showed. I'm just going kind of off memory. It hasn't been like a long time. It's been like maybe a couple weeks. Um, but yeah, it's like I recently bookmarked the page on YouTube though, because I do want to check it out more as I watch the series and see what kind of like references and stuff I can get. Even though it'll be in each episode, I presume. Also, speaking of, I am getting these episodes off of YouTube, actually. They are all on YouTube. And the reason why I'm getting them off of YouTube is because the site I use has them, but you can't download them. And I don't know why. I guess it's just the players they have for it. It just doesn't have a download option for that series. And considering it's a more obscure, older series, I can see why they wouldn't have it like as a priority to get it on the newer players or whatnot. So since it's off of YouTube, I don't know if the quality is going to be as great. But hopefully it won't be too bad, because that would really suck. But yeah, all the episodes are on YouTube, and that's where I'm going to be downloading them from in order to react. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much else to go on with this series, so we're just going to get right into this. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, during the reaction, I said that Adrian / Cybersix sounds a lot like Spike from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. There's a reason for that. She's voiced by Kathy Wesluck. It's like, did I call that or what? um, I was looking at the credits afterwards, and there's actually quite a few voice actors from MLP in here. Outside of Kathy Westlock, we also have Brian Drummond, we have Michael Dobson, Andrew Francis, Chantel Strand. It's like there's actually a notable amount of VAs, and I was thinking Andrew Francis might be. Oh my God, I can't remember his name now. Lucas, but I'm not quite sure because of the listing of the credits. I'm actually really curious about that though. So let me see if I can look it up real quick. Huh. Okay, well, one, the series is from 1999. Two, it's actually based off of a comic book, an Argentinian comic book. That's interesting. Okay, so yeah, Kathy Westlock is Cybersix. Michael Dobson is Lucas. Okay. Terry Klassen, who I think is in MLP as well, um, is in there as I assume that name is the bad guy. Let me see. Is Terry Klassen in there? I think he is. I think he's in My Little Pony. Yeah, yeah. He's Pinkie Pie's father. He's Young Hoops. Um, he's also Moody Root in Rainbow Road Trip. Okay. So yeah, he's a few different characters here and there. I knew, and Andrew Francis is Julian. Okay. Brian Drummond was Yashimoto. Was that the other guy, the other one who I said might be a clone? Maybe. Who's Julian though? Let me check that. Okay, apparently Julian is a character who I haven't seen yet. They're just I guess he's just listed in all of the credits. Um, and Brian Drummond and Chantel Strand are also additional voices. Okay. Chantel Strand, by the way, is Diamond Tiara from My Little Pony. I don't know if she voices anyone else though. Oh, she's Spoiled Rich. I did not know she also voiced Spoiled Rich. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I just didn't know that. Um, but yeah, so I'm not going to look up anything else because I don't want spoilers. So, first thoughts on this. This is definitely a late 90s, early 2000s series. It definitely has that kind of feel to it, definitely has that kind of style to its animation and its storytelling, its characters, the dialogue, all of that jazz. Um, but it is so far pretty good. And I'm not saying that other shows like this from that time aren't. I'm just saying so far it is pretty good. I am actually enjoying this. One, we have a main character who cross dresses and like takes the identity of another gender. We have a female character, Cybersix, who I guess is an experiment from this mad scientist looking dude. Probably a clone, because it looks like he has the same kind of hairstyle, similar at least, as well as the other guy and the kid. They all seem to have the same kind of hairstyle. So I'm thinking all three of them are clones of the mad scientist. Um, that's my guess, at least, at the moment. Um, but I don't know why Cybersix would be a female then, but maybe it was like a error in the cloning process or something. I don't know. um, but either way, she is female, but she is masquerading as a male, is what I was getting at and everything. And that's, like, again, we've seen this in various shows, games, and stuff where one gender masquerades as another. It happens. It's, I mean, honestly, for a lot of things, it was a trope. It was a trope used where, or even in a lot of anime, even nowadays, like there's the entire trap trope, where it's like a female or a male character looks and acts more feminine, and is mistaken for a female, like Ruka Urashibara from Steins Gate, as a big example, or Felix Argyle from ReZero. But it's like, she is not just like being mistaken for a guy, she's actually pretending to be so, which means that her natural appearance must be like pretty androgynous. Now her voice, she is voiced by Kathy Wesluck, who has voiced male characters. As I mentioned, Spike from MLP, but there's also Nier from Death Note. She voiced Nier, who is also a male character. Now her male characters are usually pretty young and kind of like children, pretty much. But the point is, she can do a more androgynous sounding voice like that to make it work. Like I've heard and known guys who have more androgynous voices like that, who have a lot lighter voices. And I've known girls with deeper voices. And of course, I've known non-binary people with either or, no matter what they were assigned at birth. It's just, you can't really judge fully on that. I'm just saying that it is interesting that they have this going on. And obviously, I assume this was the same in the comic as well. So yeah, let's actually talk about what was going on. So Cybersix is, well, a vigilante superhero who is fighting the forces of this mad scientist. She's also trying to take these vials of this corrosive acid, which apparently she has the ability to drink, and I guess keeps her stable, because it seemed like at one point she was having like issues like with her arm. It was like, it seemed to be having like some crackling and glowing issues and shit, like I assume due to her experimentation and all. So my theory is simply that she requires that corrosive acid or whatever it actually is in order to maintain her stability. Otherwise, she kind of breaks down and possibly will die. So yeah, it's really interesting. We have these different villains introduced to us outside the main scientists. We have, again, the two that I'm going to assume are clones. One of whom is like this little kid who seems like extremely smart, but also really snotty. Like, he is a snotty little brat. And then the other who is a little more reserved, but seems to be fully on board with this as well, just based on his mannerisms and everything. And then we have the thugs, the big guys, who I forgot what their designation was, but it was something silly. It wasn't like an actual name. And they're just kind of like the dumb muscle type of characters. And again, they remind me of something like from superhero comics and all. And again, it's not Solomon Grundy, but I can't think of what it is. But either way, we also have Adrian, or Cybersix's new friend. We have Lucas, who is a teacher at the school. He seems to be the cool teacher, the fun teacher, the one who everybody enjoys, and he has a good laugh with his students and stuff. And I like those kind of teachers. Like, in real life, I didn't have enough of those. A lot of the teachers I had weren't like necessarily terrible, weren't like the horrible, over exaggerated mean teachers, or the like teachers who would overwork you and not care about like how well you learned, although I did have a couple of those. Most of my teachers were just kind of meh. But I did have some teachers for sure who were definitely a lot more on the fun, caring side, and who showed a lot of like just wonderful like care for the students, for lack of a better way to word that. One such teacher was this English teacher I had. actually, the class was specifically called Multicultural Literature. Um, but that was in, what was that? Was that 11th grade? I think it was 11th grade. Um, Actually, I might have had her for both 11th and 12th. I know it was down when I was in Georgia. I think I might have had her for two different English classes in 11th and 12th grade. It was actually the first time I heard the play, well, read the play, and saw the movie for 12 Angry Men, funny enough, which is one of my favorite movies. um, but yeah, she was a great teacher. She was very caring. She would talk to the students if they needed help and just guide them through it. She was just really friendly and fun. She cracked jokes and everything. She was great. And I've had other teachers like that. There was one named Summer Hathcock, and she was a culinary teacher, also when I was in Georgia. And she was really fun. Like you could tell she had a blast teaching culinary arts, and was really just really passionate about it. And it helped it helped that her passion came through in her teaching, allowing us as students to become more passionate about it. Um, like I still remember when we were there was this one time we were making Monte Cristo sandwiches, which is a deep fried uh, like meat and cheese sandwich, like a simple meat and cheese sandwich, but then you deep fry it. It's really good, by the way. um, but I remember like she splashed herself with the oil, said out loud "shit," and then cracked up laughing. Like I remember that like very vividly. But the point I'm getting at is that Lucas definitely seems like that kind of teacher. The really fun teacher. We saw that he put up the wrong slide. He had a big laugh about it. He's having fun. Adrian, Cybersix, she seems like she's the more straight-laced teacher. From the little we saw of her in the classroom. Like she's going to be the teacher who's definitely more like by the books, not a mean teacher or anything, but definitely more by the books. And that scene also showing that the one female student hitting on her, it's like the student obviously thinks that Adrian's a guy because that's what is being presented, and again, androgynous appearance. Um, but it's like that's like a really interesting idea to think about in a lot of these like kind of situations where you see like this kind of thing. But especially when knowing that, of course, Adrian is a girl. What would this girl think if she found out about that? She clearly has a hot for teacher kind of crush going on here. Um, you have to wonder what would her reaction be if she found out Adrian was a girl? Like, would she still think that she's attractive? Would she react in a negative way? And I'm just curious. I'm always curious about that kind of stuff. On just the way people react when finding out stuff like that. Um, because I've seen examples of both ends. I've seen examples of, oh, people find out it's like, I don't care. I have a crush on you. It doesn't matter what gender you are. But I've also seen people like, ew, you're actually like a girl in this situation, what it would be. It's like, ew, I don't like you. I like guys and stuff like that. And it's like, I've seen both examples of that, honestly, in real life, even. Because I actually had an androgynous teacher who people thought was a girl for a long time. Um, because he never told his first name to the class and everything. He had an androgynous appearance and voice and everything. Um, so yeah, there was that one time. But once everyone found out he was a guy, everyone was fine with it. Um, no one was like upset by it or anything. No one made fun of him for it either. So yeah, that was really nice to see at that point. I mean, I felt like I always kind of knew personally. I always just in school went with what most people said, though. If I'm being honest, I kind of followed the crowd because I just didn't like sticking out that much. Um, But yeah, so I guess that's just interesting fun fact. um, the story of this is pretty interesting. It seems like Lucas is probably going to be like recurringly trying to get involved in all of this. Um, and that's really interesting in and of itself. Because he's a normal teacher. And yes, he looks like he's kind of tough, but compared to these like these big bruisers of villains, he's not going to do much. So maybe he's going to take a more like intellect based role. Like maybe he's going to help Adrian out in terms of helping her with recon and stuff, or like looking through the news and finding out anything he can. I don't know. I don't want him to just be completely useless the entire time and end up just being a punching bag for these enemies while trying to get involved. I want him to actually do something, you know? Um, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far. I think it definitely has a bit of that 90s cheese, but at the same time, it's well made. You could definitely see there is heart behind it. And it seems like the team who made it, the team who voiced it and everything are definitely putting forth effort into it to make a good adaptation of the original source material, the comic. Um, I mean, I'm just going to have to see where it goes to really form an opinion. But yeah, I like it so far. I think it's neat. I think that Adrian as a character definitely has a certain mystery to her. And yes, I'm going to keep calling her Adrian, even though that's her fake name that she's using to be a teacher. It's just easier that way than calling her Cybersix all the time. I'm going to call her Adrian as, like, just in general. And Cybersix I'll refer to as her, like, her superhero persona, basically. Um, but yeah, she has this, like, closed off personality, and on the little bit I've gathered of her, I can see why. But at the same time, she definitely clearly wants to let others in. Like it made a point of like when she was like changing into her superhero outfit, she's like, I don't need a friend, do I? And it definitely seemed like she was struggling with the idea. Like she wants to let Lucas in. She wants to be his friend. But she also doesn't feel like she can. She doesn't feel like she's it almost feels like she doesn't feel like she's deserving of it. Um, or that she can handle doing it with all she has to do in order to stop this mad scientist. That's what I'm getting from it, at least. Um, but yeah, I did really enjoy this. So tell me in the comments below what you thought of the first episode of Cyber 6, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.